Hi everyone. I just want you to know this is going to be a very amateur video, which is why it's not going to be for sale. And what I want is, when you download this video, feel free to, burn copies of it, put it on the file sharing networks, upload it to YouTube, Google Video. Basically, you have free reign to do whatever you want with this video, as long as you keep the full video intact. Basically what I want to say is my name is Brian, and I have had panic attacks for the past 17 years. And I've had agoraphobia for the past 5 years. For the most part, I've had bouts earlier in my life with it. This video is mainly for people who have done cognitive behavioral therapy, who have done hypnosis, who have done medications, maybe you're currently still on medications, and you're just not where you want to be with your anxiety. I know I've done quite a bit of different, quite a few treatments in my life, and they haven't all worked out for me. Basically, this is the point you want to be at in your life where you have done these treatments, so now you're no longer really scared of your anxiety. If you have fear of your anxiety, then you need to go back and address that issue. I also want to say that I'm not a doctor. Any recommendations that I make, you should always check with your doctor, before implementing any of them. Sometimes what happens is you get out of therapy and you no longer fear your anxiety, but it doesn't mean that it's not there anymore. And so what starts happening is maybe before you couldn't sit in your car, or you couldn't be in a car, and then now you're in the car, and you're free to go out with your friends, you can move around town, maybe even have a part-time job, but what's still happening is your mind is still chaotic. Your mind is still telling you things like, well, what if this, what if that, and then of course you're using the tools that therapists and doctors gave you, which is to counteract those what if thoughts by saying things, well, it hasn't happened before, if something does happen, I'm capable of, handling the situation, and basically talking yourself out of the anxiety. Other times, maybe you're starting to get a panic attack, but what you're doing is monitoring your breathing and making sure that you are basically heading it off at the pass, that it's not going to escalate up to a full-blown panic attack, and these are all useful. The problem I have with that is a lot of times people are left with this internal dialogue constantly going. Like I said, you get in the car, you make sure that you're breathing properly, maybe it's a supermarket even. You're breathing properly, you might have a sensation, you think, well, that's not dangerous. Excuse me. That's not dangerous, and I'm just gonna, continue shopping, and I felt this before, nothing bad's ever happened before. The problem I have with this is you still are having this dialogue. There's still all this chaos going on inside your head. Most people are in the supermarket. They are not having these internal dialogues. So what we're doing is we're preventing anxiety, we're dealing with anxiety. And when I say anxiety, I mean not normal anxiety. I mean, obviously everyone has anxiety, otherwise you'd run out into the street and get run over. You have to have some. But what I'm saying is that there's still a lot of, chaotic thoughts, a lot of strange thoughts that go through your head. I personally have not been helped by mainstream medical treatments. I have done Paxil in the past, and I have come off Paxil. And for me, and not everyone, but for me, coming off Paxil was not easy. I had brain zaps, and this is before, doctors even knew that this could happen. So I ended up going to an emergency room, trying to describe what I was feeling, and they just looked at me and they checked to see if I had a stroke, and then they just wanted to send me home, and they just basically said, oh, it's rebound anxiety. Of course, now in 2008, we know it's not rebound anxiety if you come off those pills too quickly, which I was on a low dose, but if you come off too quickly, you can have some type of withdrawal effect. Other medications, of course, have their own problems when you come off of them. With cognitive behavioral therapy, my main problem with that is that there has not, to my knowledge anyway, I have not seen where they've had control groups next to the people that were doing cognitive behavioral therapy. And so they'll say that they have a 70 to 90% success rate, but compared to what? They're just saying that these people are being helped, and that's great, if they are. But also studies have come out with medication that the medication itself is really just just a little bit better, and sometimes not even better, than the placebo. So a lot of people could be having placebo effects. And hey, if you get fixed by a placebo effect, great. Because I wish I could find a placebo effect to make everything just, go away and stop the internal chaos that I have, and, the drained feeling that you might still be having. Maybe you feel fatigued all the time. Maybe you wake up with headaches. Maybe your teeth, maybe you're biting down on them very, very hard in your sleep. Maybe you're still having nightmares. Maybe you have a whole list. And as anyone knows who has panic attacks or agoraphobia, that's the list of things that go on and the phobias that start to grow. Personally, for me, I have the panic attacks, I have agoraphobia, I have blood phobia, needle phobia, dental phobia. Well, not dental, but going to the dentist. But they all grew because it started with the blood, and then I associated it to the needle, and then I associated it to the dentist because there could be blood, there could be this. So we all know in our different ways how anxiety has spread and grown. Once again, do I not go to a doctor because of it? No, I go. It's extremely uncomfortable for me. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. And like a lot of people, it's all about, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. That's fine, but I have a problem with the fact that there still is, in a lot of us, the fear. What I want to talk about also is that I have a personal theory that there's different kinds of panic attacks. It does not mean that anyone suffers any more or any less with the panic attacks. It's just that when you look at people who have epilepsy, those people have seizures for whatever reason, but they are diagnosed with epilepsy. But anyone can have a seizure, okay? So if you take too much of the wrong medication or you have a reaction to a medication, you can have a seizure. You then go to the hospital, the doctor says, oh, it was most likely caused by this drug or by this event. You remove that event, and then you don't have a seizure again. Whereas someone with epilepsy will keep having them over and over. And even when they're, taking pills to treat the epilepsy, what ends up happening is they have less seizures, and sometimes for quite an extended period of time, and then they'll have one. So I'm starting to wonder if there's two different kinds of panic attacks. One which is situational, where something bad happens in someone's life, a lot of stress going on, and so then they all of a sudden, bam, they have a panic attack, and it scares them, and they end up with panic disorder. They then go through all these treatments with doctors. The situation has been removed. They learn to calm their anxiety, and then they move on. But then I think that there's another list of people that just have panic attacks. They start at a certain age for some reason, and they just continue. They still don't know really they know what causes a panic attack, but they don't know why they start in the first place. For a long time we've been told, it's serotonin, it's this neurochemical. The truth of the matter is, there is no proof whatsoever that any of these chemicals are involved at all with panic attacks. They know that during a panic attack, some neurochemicals are higher, but they cannot definitively say that it's the cause. And that's why when you see pharmaceutical commercials, you hear all the time, it may be the cause of depression. It may be the cause of generalized anxiety. It may be this. It may be. Because they can't say it is. Because they don't know. And they're still in that phase. What I have personally found that has helped me deal better, certainly have my ups and downs, and I have really bad days, as I'm sure some of you do. But if you're looking for something to help with the fatigue that goes along with this, if you have irritable bowel syndrome because of your anxiety, if you have all these other physical things going on, I, for myself, have found a way to stop that. And it may not work for everybody. It might work for only a few people. Definitely have not tried this on a mass number of people, and I hope that you guys will try this. Will let me know how you feel when you do this. And basically, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to restart the video. Like I said, it's going to be very amateur. It's just I got to do this in segments and then piece it together. So I will be right back. Okay, so I was talking about what I did for myself to ease the physical symptoms of what goes on with people that have constant anxiety and panic attacks. And it actually came about because I was watching a show on Larry King with Jenny McCarthy, and she was talking about diets with autism. And I started to look into that a little bit more to see, well, why would that affect, children with autism? Why is it helping some children, whereas some aren't being helped? And I started to go through blogs of people that had autistic children and read successes that they've had with food. And I've always kind of liked, natural diets and health food. It's always kind of been my thing. I remember being in high school and, always reading about vitamins, and, especially back then in the 90s, that was a big thing, where just lots of supplements. So I was kind of into that. But what I did is I radically changed my diet. I wouldn't recommend doing it all at once, because I did it all at once, and I suffered greatly for doing it. My body went through all sorts of withdrawals and cravings, and just, I felt sick, and I felt tired, and I wanted to sleep a lot, because I was not used to eating this way. I just wanted to have a pizza. I just wanted to have a burger. I want to have a microwave TV dinner. I'm not really big on cooking, so my diet had been like that for a long time. But basically, here's what you would do. No grains whatsoever. Not rice, not wheat, rye, oats, and no corn. Corn's actually a grain, okay? You can have wild rice, because wild rice is not a grain. If it's by itself and it's just wild rice, it's actually a seed. Okay, so get that down right there. No grains. Then no dairy, so no milk. Okay, you can have eggs, but absolutely no milk. So if you're not going to have milk, you're going to have to get calcium somewhere. You can get this by getting calcium fortified orange juice and calcium fortified apple juice. You can also buy a supplement, I think calcium carbonate. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just make sure it's not a dairy source. Okay? Another thing you're going to need is you're going to need a multivitamin. Make sure your multivitamin has 100% iodine. No more, no less, just 100% iodine in it. Also, if you're a man, unless you're anemic, unless a doctor has told you that you need to take iron, your multivitamin should not have any iron in it whatsoever. Okay? Because the only way to lose iron is through bleeding, for the most part. That's the best way to lose iron. So you're not menstruating. Now, if you're a woman and you're still menstruating and you're taking a multivitamin that has iron, fine, as long as that's okay with your doctor. If you are no longer menstruating and you're an older woman who's gone through menopause, okay, or if you've had a hysterectomy and you just are not menstruating even at a younger age, you also do not need iron, because you are not losing blood. You get plenty from your food. Okay? Again, talk to your doctor about that. So no dairy, no grains. Okay? It sounds awful. It sounds like a lot to do. I mean, everything that we eat in this diet is grains and dairy. Bread, that's a grain, and it has milk in it. All sorts of stuff. So I know it sounds extreme. And it does take a while to get used to. Okay, so here's some tips. Oh, important. When you buy canned vegetables, make sure it's just the vegetable, water, and salt. Or sodium-free, because you don't want to overload on salt. But you don't want to get no salt, because you actually need to have salt in your diet. Okay, and if you use salt, make sure you're using table salt and not sea salt. Sea salt does not have iodine in it. So even though sea salt's probably more natural, I'd avoid it, and I would just go for the regular iodized table salt. When you buy canned fruit, make sure it is just sweetened in its own fruit juice. If it has high fructose corn syrup of anything, light syrup, whatever it is, if it has corn syrup, you're getting a grain, because corn is a grain. Okay? So that's something to look for. You also don't want to have something that has a lot of additives in it. There's a lot of words on there that you don't know what they are, and you have to go look them up. You probably shouldn't be putting it in your body. Okay? It's another thing. So, if you're like me and you're lazy and you don't want to always buy fresh fruit because it's expensive, here's a couple things you can do, because some you can't find without corn syrup. Fruit juice is one thing, 100%. If they add vitamin C to it, fine, but make sure it's just 100% juice, no high fructose corn syrup, none of that stuff. Okay, no sugar added, nothing, no dyes either. Stay away from food coloring, all food colorings. Okay. Now this is going to look ridiculous and sound ridiculous, but stage 3 baby food. This is pears. Okay, this happens to be by Beech Nut. There's also Gerber, and there's also more expensive brands that are organic. Okay, they don't put corn syrup in this. So basically it's like applesauce. They have peach, they have apricot, they have all sorts of things. So what you want to do is, this is pear, they have banana, but you know, whatever. The example would just be this. You take the pear, you get a cup, you pour it out into a cup. You then put water about up to here, you put the cap back on, you shake it, and then you pour it out again, the water into the cup. Then you just add a little bit more water to get the residue. Just shake it again, pour it in the cup, stir it with a spoon, and drink it down. Now, it's not gross at all. It tastes actually pretty good. Don't waste your money on baby food if you're buying apple, because you can just buy applesauce. Just make sure it's natural applesauce. You can mix that in with water and drink that down. It's a good way to get fiber also from the applesauce. The next thing, dried beans are good. You can boil them. They are way better than canned. But if you're like me, I just don't feel like boiling beans all day long, okay? So just buy canned beans. I like chickpeas, you know, basically. That's my one of my favorite beans. If you eat a can of these beans, you're getting almost 400 calories, okay? And you get almost 100% of your fiber for the day. So keep that in mind too. The next thing is all sorts of canned food. Vegetables are really easy to buy with the cans. Whole potatoes. Now, when you use meat, okay, because the only thing you're eating is fruits, vegetables, and meat now, and eggs. You can buy canned chicken. It's best if you just buy chicken and boil it. Don't bake it. Don't broil it. Don't fry it. Obviously don't bread it, because that'd be getting a grain. You just want to eat it plain. And I know, again, this sounds so bland, but the benefit is just so worth it. I can't even tell you. Once you get used to eating like this, you will feel so much better. So I buy canned chicken, okay? This is 10 ounces. It's Fresh Valley. It's 100% natural, white and dark chicken, okay? You get protein, good protein from meat. And I know that we live in a world that it's not politically correct to eat meat. And I know that so many people are vegetarians, so many people are vegan, or whatever diet that they're on. Just telling you, this has really helped me. And I used to be a vegetarian a long time ago, so I know that people have different philosophies. Okay, canned sardines. You don't want to get them in oil. You don't want to get them with the hot sauce that has it, or the mustard. Just get canned sardines and water. Okay? Has omega-3s in it. They're good. It's good for you. Now, tuna I stay away from, because tuna has a lot more mercury in it than sardines. Also, tuna tends to have a lot of additives in it. But if you can find tuna in a can that doesn't have a lot of additives, great. You know, fine if you want to eat that. Or just buy tuna and boil it. You know, boil fish up. Boil up whatever seafood you like, because on meat you have a free reign to eat what you want as long as you boil it. Okay? Does not mean to gorge yourself on meat, because of course it's still meat and you should be getting way more fruits and vegetables as your calorie content than your meat. But you do need to have meat in this diet. The next thing is make sure you get enough healthy fats. By doing this, and this might sound gross, I thought it would be when I did it, is get a bottle of extra virgin olive oil. Okay? And what you're going to want to do is just open it up, get a tablespoon, pour it onto the tablespoon, and just put it in your mouth and swallow. Take 2 tablespoons. That's 240 calories. It's good fat. It's good for your heart. You know, buy an imported brand. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but it tastes better. Make sure it's extra virgin olive oil, okay? And I know that, I mean, if you're, well, you're not frying anyway, because I don't really believe in the whole frying thing, but if you're going to, just do not fry vegetables up with olive oil. I know that there's this whole thing back and forth that it's okay to, you know, cook with olive oil. Personally, I don't think it is, okay? I'm on the side of the debate where it's not okay to heat olive oil up to that temperature. If you are going to actually fry your vegetables, which I still recommend against, but if you're going to, use peanut oil or coconut oil, okay? Because that's much better to cook with. Okay, I will be right back again. Again, I'm sorry that this is very, very amateur. Okay, another thing I want to emphasize on is I said you had free reign with meat. That is raw meat. Okay. Bacon? No. Okay. No sandwich meat, no bacon, no ham. Unless the ham you have is nitrate free and it's just plain old ham that you actually have to cook because it's raw, then no. Stay away from those types of meat. Okay? A lot of people might be thinking, well, I can just drink soy milk since I can't have milk. No. Stay away from soy products. Okay? No soy at all. Eating nuts is up to you. I personally don't really eat many. It's definitely not on any form of a ban list with this diet. It's you can have walnuts, almonds, cashews. Just make sure you get them in the purest form. You know, try not to buy ones that are salted, soaked in cottonseed oil and all that other stuff. Just try to get roasted and organic if you can afford it and if your store has it. No microwaving. Do not use the microwave oven. Okay? Everything I'm bringing up, I'm kind of just skimming over. If you have a question as to why I'm against certain things, feel free to write to me, to leave me a voicemail, to go to my blog, ask a question there. I'm going to put all of my contact information up during this video and also at the end. Trying to think, what else do you need to know about this? Okay, if you go extreme and you do this all at once, you're going to put your body into turmoil. It took me about a week and a half of eating like this non-stop to feel okay. I was very, very tired, and a lot of nights I would go to bed and I would think, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to make a sandwich, I'm going to order a pizza tomorrow. And I finally got to a point where even though I was getting enough calories, enough vitamins, enough of everything, I felt like I was starving. But yet my weight wasn't dropping. And I knew I was not starving. It's just simply my body wanted what it was used to. And it was very, very difficult to come off all those foods. Like I said, I had been eating everything, like mac and cheese, all that stuff. I noticed during my anxiety, like if I went, and I'm not picking on any particular fast food restaurant because it's pretty much all of them. If I went to McDonald's and I went through the drive-thru and I ate a Big Mac or a double cheeseburger, or if I went to Burger King and had fries, all this stuff, I would notice that my heart rate was increasing and I felt crappy, almost like there was sludge just going through my body, and I did not feel good, and it would make my anxiety a whole lot worse my thoughts seem to be more chaotic. You're going to also want to stay away from artificial sweeteners. Aspartame, Splenda, all those things, just don't even use them. It's much better if you just use sugar, which I don't recommend using sugar, but if you're going to use it, just use plain sugar in moderation. The next thing is decaffeinated tea. Now, if you like caffeine, you know, it's up to you. Caffeine and anxiety really don't mix, so I recommend decaffeinate it. Get a good decaffeinated black tea. It has a ton of antioxidants in it, and overall it has an amino acid in it that can help to relax you. Okay, herbal teas are good too. Stay away from things that are going to stimulate you. You do not want to be drinking things like ginseng. Okay, stick with chamomile, stick with, you know, mint type teas, just common soothing teas, and nothing out of the ordinary. Like, I don't do anything with echinacea or ginkgo biloba or St. John's wort or any of these things that are being trouted out into the alternative market, like valerian root and all these things. Look, if it works for you, you know, fine. But it's basically to keep this as simple as possible and as easy on your body as possible. The next thing is, if you find that you don't like beans, maybe you can't eat beans, there is products like Metamucil and Citrusel, although Citrusel is a semi-synthetic fiber, so Metamucil would be better. Some people can't handle that, so it's really up to you. I think that's all I really have to say for now. And I know there's probably stuff I've left out, and I probably will make more videos on this in the future, especially as more questions come in and see how you're feeling. I want you to contact me. I want to know how you are feeling and if this is helping you. Do you always feel like you're starving? Is it that you can't handle this diet even after you talk to your doctor? Is it not working for you? Because I'd like to look for myself as into why, or what nutrient might you be missing if you're not eating a well-balanced diet with this. Basically, fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, nuts, seeds, no grains, no dairy. As long as you basically follow that rule and you boil most of your meat, okay, even hamburger can be boiled, so it's not as nasty as it sounds. You don't want to overload on spices. You don't want to like do stuff like that. However, I will say this. I do like to take bananas and just put 2 bananas in the blender, pour a cup of water in, and just add like maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon and just blend it. You'd be surprised. Not adding milk, I thought, well, maybe this won't taste that good. It tastes great. It tastes the same. Another thing you can do is buy oranges, peel the orange, put it into the blender. I usually put 2 or 3 oranges, depending on the size, in with water and blend that and then drink that down. Raw fruit is actually the best, I think, compared obviously to canned or frozen. It also, things like oranges have high fiber content, so that's always good. Apples are fine. I don't like raw apples, but I know a lot of people probably do. You could always blend that up or just eat them. Try to buy organic if you can, but you want to know something? A lot of people don't have a lot of money to do that, and not all areas of this country, or the world for that matter, offer organic food. So you just work with what you can, basically, is what I'm saying. Make the best of it. Now, if you all of a sudden have a craving beyond belief, you can't take the diet anymore, you have to have pizza, do it. You know, don't sit there and torture yourself. Just have it, and then over time it'll become easier and easier not to eat those foods. In fact, you'll find more and more your cravings will change. There'll be times where, I mean, I used to like crave having a candy bar, and now I literally crave having a can of spinach. And that might sound weird, especially to people that don't, you know, eat this way, but your body's cravings will change. You will start to feel better. I really believe that you will. I used to have cramps all the time, like all the time, at least once a day, and it was just awful. I have not had cramps now for almost a year now. I had just, it did not help. I will tell you what it did not help with. So in case you're hoping for certain things, and maybe it will with you, it didn't help with my insomnia. I mean, my sleep gets messed up still, and but it did help with the quality of my sleep. When I actually did sleep, I felt that I slept better. A lot of that awful taste you can get in your mouth when you wake up, especially when you drink dairy products at night, it was just gone. A lot of like the white tongue experience disappeared. Trying to be like really honest without being graphic, but I used to have like on my big toes of my feet, there used to be dry, scaly skin. It went away. I used to have floaters that I could see all over if I looked at a wall and it was white. They went away. Well, to be honest, I have like one left, but I used to have a ton of them. And it just amazed me how much this really cleared my body up. Another thing it did is, do I still have scary thoughts? Yes. When something extreme is happening, like if I have to go have my blood taken, especially since I faint sometimes when I do, that anticipation is just still very overwhelming for me. It scares me. I don't like it. I admit it. But when it comes to going to a supermarket now, are the thoughts still there? Yes. But they have slowed themselves down. It's almost like just taking what you have right now, all those thoughts, and you know you can have 1,000 thoughts a second, and cutting them in half. And now you're only having 500 thoughts a second. It just has really changed my life, and I feel weird on camera. I feel weird making these videos. This is something that I can't keep to myself because I know how bad I have suffered. I know there's others out there like me, and I know that how much this helped me, and if this can help even just 2 people that watch this video, you know, what a relief it'll be for their life. The other thing I want to talk about is I do not belong to any organized religion. I have nothing against religion. I have gone back and forth on it during my life, from being, you know, Christian, atheist, Buddhist. I looked into Hinduism. I remember in high school I looked into Wicca. All these things. I wanted to find something that resonated with me, something that gave me the feeling of something larger than myself. You know, other people I know, like, that go to AA, they, you know, their higher power can be anything. Their higher power can be themselves. You can be atheist. Doesn't matter. Find something that makes you feel good and can relax you. 2 things that have really, really helped me in the past. One, when I started yoga, and I got away from that after 3 months of doing it. I want to go back to it. It did help. Okay? For me, it helped. The next thing is, I was going to lean over here to get it. Okay. I have no stake in this company whatsoever. I make no money if you buy this CD or if you don't buy the CD. And it's by Mitchell Gibson, and it's called The Living Soul Meditation. Okay? And you just go to Tybro, TYBRO.com, and it's under his CD section. It looks like this. And he does have videos on YouTube. You know, he says a lot of stuff that's interesting. I think if you just look up Mitchell Gibson on YouTube, his videos will come up. To some of you, it may be really, really out there, and to other people, it might resonate with you. And if it does, you know, fine. But regardless of what he says, regardless of what he's talking about, this particular meditation helps because it's not one of those things where, you know, picture yourself on a beach, picture yourself here. You know, sometimes as an agoraphobic, you don't want to picture yourself out on a beach. That's the last place you want to picture yourself, or wandering through the forest in the misty rain. I mean, it's just not okay with everyone to have that type of thing. And I personally had a problem, excuse me, I personally had a problem sitting there listening to just relax this, and, you know, you're laying on the beach and the sun's beating on your back. Okay. This CD does not do that. It has some of those aspects, but it's not like that. It tells you how to breathe in this meditation. Like, for instance, it'll tell you, you know, inhale 7 times, And what you do is you just go and you count to 7 until your lungs are filled, and then he tells you when to let it go and how many breaths to breathe out and how many to breathe in again. It goes for, I think, about 20 minutes, a little over 20 minutes. And for myself, I had to do it a few times because it's kind of like you have to memorize it, you know, to get through it. First time I did it, I got through like 10 minutes of it, and now I can actually get through it. Would it be helpful if you did it every day? Probably. Do I do it every day? No, I don't. I should, but I don't. So anyway, that's all I can think of for now. I'm going to put this video on file sharing networks. I am going to have to load this up to Google Video because I think it's too big for YouTube. And I'm going to put it on the public domain sites. And so if you come across this, feel free to share it. You're allowed to share it. You're allowed to burn it to disk and give it to somebody. You're allowed to put it to VCR tape if you're able to do that, if someone has, you know, still has a VCR out there. You're allowed to do whatever you want with the footage, like I said, as long as you keep it complete from beginning to end, as long as you keep my contact information there, and that's it. So basically, feel free to distribute it. If you have any questions about, like, if maybe you, for some reason, want to sell this, just contact me, and we can work something out. But basically, I think this is a little too amateur to actually sell. So, oh, and for the record, I just want to put this out there now. The diet that I'm actually calling this, it is a grain-free, dairy-free diet, but I am calling it a Boiltarian diet, and basically, you know, vegetarian, but boil, because most of this stuff should be boiled. The canned stuff is great. You know, it saves me because I'm lazy. It might save you because you're lazy. But the best thing is, boil your meat, boil your vegetables, eat your fruits raw, eat your vegetables raw if you want to, but basically keep it boiled. And I have a reason behind that. And the only thing I'm going to say about that right now, because I don't want to jump the gun with the FDA, just type in potato chips and cancer, and there's going to be a chemical that you're going to find comes up that is being created when you cook carbohydrate foods at high temperatures. Okay? The next thing I do want to talk about briefly is there is no such thing as a perfect diet. You know, in this day and age, animals are given hormones, antibiotics. All you can do is do your best to get these things out of your life. I mean, this canned chicken happens to be from Hormel. That's the company that ultimately makes this. I have emailed them personally to ask if their cans contain of something called BPA in the lining. They wrote back, and they do. In fact, almost every single can in the United States contains BPA. So keep that in mind. Use this when you feel too lazy to boil the food. You know, when you're too lazy to boil the beans or you just don't feel up to it, then eat the canned stuff. Okay? Frozen's actually, you know, better too. It's easier to cook if you can find frozen beans. I don't know if I've ever seen frozen beans or not, but there is frozen fruit. You know, things like that. Definitely contact me if you have questions. And that's it. And really good luck on this. And don't rush it. Talk to your doctor, because again, I'm not a medical doctor, and I know on certain psychiatric medications, there's certain foods you can't eat. You're not allowed to. So especially, I think it's if you're on an MAOI inhibitor. So check with your doctor if you're on medication. Explain to them what you want to do. Tell them that you want to do a grain-free, dairy-free diet. A lot of places, a lot of doctors' offices can refer you to a nutritionist, and they can say, you know, go to the nutritionist, and they'll say, well, you don't need to do that. Just tell them, basically, be a little bit forceful. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a grain-free and a dairy-free diet. I need you to tell me how to do it properly. And then they will. If they know you're going to do it, they're not going to let you harm yourself, so they will give you the information. Because let's face it, if you were allergic to grains and allergic to milk and you were really unlucky to have those allergies, they'd have to figure something out for you. So nutritionists are good. I've had some good ones, some bad ones, and look, if they're not listening to you, if your doctor's not listening to you, about any of your symptoms with anxiety. If you're being blown off constantly, if you have a therapist that is just sees you once a week and then he sees you next month because he gives you a whole list of new medications, switch. Do yourself the favor and switch. If you are being mistreated by any medical professional, if he's talking down to you, he or she, if they're condescending to you, and they don't understand what it's like to have anxiety, switch. If you're able to, understand some people are in small towns, but do your best to find people that are behind you on this. Surround yourself with people who are healthy. Surround yourself with people who are happy. Get involved with as many things as you can, even if that means that you have one other friend that comes over to your house. Don't isolate yourself down to a point, even if you're still in your home. Just don't isolate yourself. It's the worst thing you can do, because the longer you stay in without going outside, the harder it's going to be, and you'll start to fear that anxiety again. So it's very important. I'm not saying, get on a plane tomorrow and fly, across country. It's a process. I get that. What I'm offering is the physical symptoms that go along with this illness, the ones that really wear you down, even on days when you're not having panic attacks. Try this. See if it helps you. Let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. 2 last things that I just remembered to tell you guys. Okay, when it comes to the baby food, feel free to also get the vegetables, so you just don't have to get fruit. In fact, sweet potatoes, I can't find canned sweet potatoes without corn syrup in it. So baby food, sweet potato, just mix it with water the same way I described before. And the last thing was, that you can use a crock pot. So if you are making meat and you want to use a slow cooker, like a crock pot, just put your chicken in there, cut up some carrots, cut up some peppers. I know some people might be actually working and they've gotten that far with their anxiety, and that's great. So just put it in there, you come home to an already made meal. So that might help a lot too. And that's all I can think of, so now I really am going to go.